Picture this: a small Texas town, a beloved preacher standing at the pulpit, preaching righteousness and family values, until the day a single DNA test rips his world apart. What starts as a quest for truth ends in a blood-soaked nightmare. A dismembered body, a secret spanning decades, and a betrayal so twisted it'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about faith, family, and fury. Stay with me, because this story is about to take you down a rabbit hole you won't escape from, a descent so deep, so dark, it'll keep you guessing for hours. Welcome back, truth seekers, to Crime Mysteries Uncovered. I'm your guide into the shadows, where we peel back the layers of the most jaw-dropping, spine-chilling cases you've never heard of, or maybe thought you knew. If you're new here, this is the place where we dive deep into the dark corners of human nature, uncovering secrets that shock, stun, and stick with you long after the screen goes dark. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and join our growing community of mystery lovers who can't get enough of the truth, no matter how twisted it gets. In today's video, we're stepping into a story so wild it sounds like it was ripped from a horror movie script. Except it's real, and it's about to unfold over hours of chilling revelations. A Texas preacher, a man of God, discovers a family secret so explosive it shatters his faith, his marriage, and ultimately his sanity. What happens when the man who's supposed to save souls becomes the one who takes a life? We're talking DNA tests, hidden affairs, a crime scene that'll haunt you, and a manhunt that stretches across the state. Buckle up, because this is one roller coaster you won't want to get off, and trust me, you'll be on the edge of your seat until the very last second. Let's set the stage. It's a quiet Sunday morning in a sleepy Texas town. Think live oaks swaying, humid air thick with the scent of mesquite, the distant hum of cicadas filling the silence. At the heart of this tight-knit community stands Reverend Daniel Hargrove, not his real name, but will protect the innocent and the guilty alike for now. Daniel's the kind of preacher everyone loves, charismatic, warm, with a voice that could make even the hardest skeptic feel a flicker of faith. His sermons are standing room only, his smile disarming, his presence a comfort to a town that leans on him like a rock. He's got a wife, Sarah, who's the picture of devotion, always at his side, organizing bake sales, teaching Sunday school, her soft laugh a familiar sound at church picnics. And then there are their 5 kids, 3 boys and 2 girls, ages ranging from 8 to 17, all raised in the church, all picture perfect, polite, well-dressed, the kind of kids you'd brag about. According to neighbors interviewed by the San Antonio Express-News, Daniel's family was the gold standard. They were the family you wanted to be, one said, always smiling, always together. Another neighbor recalled how Daniel would mow lawns for the elderly, how Sarah would drop off casseroles for new moms. The Hargroves were the heartbeat of this community, a shining example of faith and love. But here's the thing about perfection. It's fragile, a thin veneer stretched over secrets waiting to crack. And behind those smiles, something was brewing, something dark, something Daniel didn't see coming. Let's linger here for a moment. Imagine this town. Maybe it's not so different from where you grew up. The church bells ringing, the kids playing in the yard, the preacher waving from his porch. What happens when that idyllic scene turns into a nightmare? We're about to find out. To understand Daniel, we need to go back, way back. Daniel wasn't just any preacher. He was born into it, molded by it. His father, Ezekiel Hargrove, was a towering figure in Texas's evangelical circles decades ago, a fire and brimstone preacher with a voice like thunder and a grip on his flock that bordered on obsession. Ezekiel raised Daniel in a home where the Bible wasn't just scripture, it was law. According to a rare interview with a childhood friend, published in the Houston Chronicle, Daniel grew up under a strict hand. Ezekiel didn't tolerate questions, the friend said. Daniel learned early to obey, to preach, and to lead or else. Ezekiel's wife, Miriam, Daniel's mother, was quieter, a shadow in his life, devout but submissive, fading into the background until her death from cancer when Daniel was 19. That loss hit him hard, hardened him, but it also fueled his drive. He followed in Ezekiel's footsteps, attending seminary, marrying Sarah, a sweet, shy girl from the congregation, and building a life that mirrored his father's, only softer, warmer. Or so it seemed. Sarah's story is murkier. She grew up in the same town, a preacher's daughter herself, Her father, a gentle soul who died young, leaving her and her mother struggling. According to a family friend quoted in the Austin American-Statesman, Sarah met Daniel at church youth group, a match everyone called heaven sent. She was 18 at their wedding. He was 22. They settled into married life fast. Jacob, their first, born just 10 months later. 4 more kids followed, each a blessing. Each a tie binding them tighter to the church, to each other, to the Hargrove name. But was it all as perfect as it looked? Let's peel back the curtain a little more. It all starts innocently enough. Daniel's oldest son, let's call him Jacob, is 17 and obsessed with those ancestry kits. You know, the ones where you spit in a tube and find out you're 2% Viking or whatever. It's 2023 and these kits are everywhere. Commercials on TV, ads scrolling Instagram. Jacob begs his dad for one for Christmas, says it'll be fun to trace the Hargrove lineage, maybe impress his history teacher with some cool family facts. Daniel, proud of his family's deep southern roots, agrees. He's got stories from his dad about ancestors who settled the land, fought in wars. He's excited to see it on paper. The whole family gets in on it. Daniel, Sarah, all 5 kids. They send off the kits, laughing around the dinner table about what they might find. Maybe a distant cousin who fought in the Texas Revolution, Daniel jokes. Sarah teases Jacob about finding outlaw blood. Weeks later, the results come back. It's a chilly January day, rare for Texas, but the kids are thrilled, bundled up, playing outside, while Daniel and Sarah sit by the fire, laptops open. At first, it's all fun and games. Daniel's got some Scottish blood, explains his love for plaid shirts. He laughs. Sarah's got a touch of Irish. Maybe that's where her green eyes come from, she muses. The kids are a mix, little percentages lighting up the screen. Cute, right? But then Jacob notices something off. He's digging through the family matches. 17-year-olds are nosy like that, and there's a name he doesn't recognize. A close relative, flagged as a grandparent, but it's not Daniel's late mom, Miriam, or Sarah's parents, both long gone. It's Ezekiel Hargrove, Daniel's father, a stern, retired preacher himself, living just 20 miles away in a quiet retirement home, still sharp at 78, still quoting scripture to anyone who'll listen. Jacob shows it to Daniel, confused. Dad, why's Grandpa showing up like this? It says he's my grandfather, but like directly. Daniel's heart skips a beat, but he brushes it off at first. Must be a glitch, right? Those tests aren't perfect. He's read the fine print about false positives. He ruffles Jacob's hair, says, "Don't worry, buddy, these things mess up sometimes." But the seed's planted, and Daniel can't unsee it. That night, he lies awake, staring at the ceiling, Sarah breathing softly beside him. Ezekiel? His dad? No way. But the doubt gnaws, a quiet whisper he can't shake. Pause for a second. Imagine you're Daniel. You've built your life on trust. Trust in God, trust in your wife, trust in your family. Your dad's a legend in your world, your kids your pride, your marriage your anchor. And now there's this tiny crack, this whisper of doubt. Would you ignore it, chalk it up to a mistake? Or would you dig deeper, even if it meant risking everything you've ever known? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you'd do, because what Daniel does next changes everything. And trust me, you're not ready for where this is going. Daniel can't let it go. That whisper turns into a roar in his head. He's a methodical man. Years of studying scripture, parsing verses, finding meaning, so he approaches this like a puzzle. He orders another test, this time just for him, Sarah, and the kids. No middleman, no mistakes, straight from a lab he trusts. He doesn't tell Sarah why, just says it's for family records, keeps his tone light. But every day those weeks crawl by, he's watching her a little closer. Is she fidgeting more at breakfast, avoiding his eyes when he asks about her day? Or is he just paranoid, projecting his fear onto her every move? The kids notice too. Jacob, sharp as a tack, asks, "Dad, why are we doing this again?" Daniel forces a smile. "Just double-checking, son." Sarah's quieter, though, less chatter at dinner, her laugh a little forced. Maybe she senses something. Maybe she knows what's coming. The results finally land in his inbox on a rainy February afternoon. The kids are at school, Sarah's at a women's Bible study. Daniel's alone in his study, door locked, heart pounding as he clicks the file. When he opens it, the floor drops out from under him. According to the certified results from Ancestry DNA, cross-checked by a private lab Daniel hired later, confirmed by documents filed in court, the kids aren't his. not one of them. Biologically, their father is Ezekiel Hargrove, Daniel's own dad. 5 kids, 18 years of marriage, and every single one, Jacob 17, Micah 15, Leah 13, Samuel 10, and little Hannah 8, traces back to the man who raised Daniel, who taught him the Bible, who baptized him in the muddy waters of a Texas river when he was 12. Daniel's mind races, a storm of questions crashing in. How? When? He scrolls through the data again. Percentages don't lie. Ezekiel's DNA is a perfect match, a grandfather turned father. Daniel stumbles to the bathroom, sick, the room spinning. He sees flashes. Sarah laughing with Ezekiel at Christmas. Ezekiel's hand lingering on her shoulder at a church picnic years ago. Was it all there, right in front of him? He confronts Sarah that night after the kids are asleep. The house is silent, the air thick with tension, rain tapping the windows like a drumbeat. He waits until she's in the kitchen, washing dishes, her back to him. "Tell me it's a lie," he says, voice shaking, holding the printout like a weapon. Sarah freezes, soap dripping from her hands. She turns and her face crumples. That's when he knows, before she even opens her mouth. She confesses, sobbing, collapsing into a chair. "It started years ago," she says, before they were married. Ezekiel had power over her. A preacher's authority, a twisted manipulation. She was young, vulnerable, scared. It happened again and again, even after the wedding, a secret she buried under guilt and prayer. It stopped when Hannah was born. She swears that was the end. But Ezekiel threatened her, said he'd ruin them both, expose her, destroy Daniel's ministry if she ever spoke. Daniel stares at her, numb. 18 years, he whispers. You let me raise his kids. Sarah reaches for him, but he pulls away, her touch burning like betrayal. Daniel's world implodes. His father, his hero, his moral compass, betrayed him in the worst way imaginable. The man who preached purity, who drilled righteousness into Daniel's bones, stole his life. And Sarah, his partner, his love, kept this secret for nearly 2 decades. Every sermon he preached about honesty, every prayer he said with his kids, every "I love you" to Sarah feels like a lie now. He storms out, the rain soaking him as he drives to Ezekiel's retirement home that night. The confrontation's ugly, screaming, shoving, old man tears. Ezekiel's frail but defiant, sitting in his recliner, Bible on his lap. "Is it true?" Daniel yells. Ezekiel doesn't deny it. "She came to me," he says, voice cold, eyes hard. "You were never man enough to keep her." Daniel lunge, fists clenched, but stops short. Years of restraint, of faith, holding him back. He leaves, slamming the door, Ezekiel's laugh echoing in his ears. The rage festers. He can't look at Sarah, can't look at the kids, those faces he loved, now reminders of his father's sin. Jacob's brown eyes, so like Ezekiel's. Hannah's smile, his father's dimple. Days turn into weeks, and he's spiraling. Drinking whiskey in his study, missing sermons, locking the door to shut out Sarah's pleas. The congregation whispers, "Where's Pastor Daniel?" The kids ask why Daddy's so quiet, their voices small, scared. Sarah begs him to forgive her, to talk, to pray, but every word she says feels like a knife twisting deeper. Let's pull back for a moment. This isn't just Daniel's story, it's the town's too. Picture the gossip spreading like wildfire. According to a local hairdresser quoted in the Dallas Morning News, people started noticing Daniel wasn't himself. He'd walk right past you, head down, no hello. The church elders meet, worried. Donations are dipping, pews half empty. Sarah's friends try to reach her, but she's a ghost, dodging calls, skipping Bible study. One deacon, interviewed later by KXAN News, says, "We thought it was burnout. Preachers crack sometimes. We had no idea it was this." The kids feel it too. Jacob stops leading youth group, his grades slipping. Micah gets into a fight at school, unheard of for a Hargrove. Leah's quieter, clinging to her little siblings like she's protecting them. The town watches, whispers, waits. Something's wrong, but no one knows what yet. Here's where it gets dark. Daniel's not just hurt, he's unraveling. Imagine the weight of that betrayal pressing down, day after day, your father's face in your kids, your wife's lies in every memory. What would it take for a man of God to snap? Stick around, because what happens next is straight out of a nightmare, and it's all backed by the police reports, witness statements, and a trail of clues we're about to dive into. Don't go anywhere. This is where the story turns. It's a humid Tuesday night, 3 months after the DNA bombshell. The Hargrove house is dark, unusually quiet. No lights, no kids' laughter, just the buzz of crickets against the screens. A neighbor, Mrs. Ellen Carter, who'd known the family for years, gets worried. Sarah hasn't been seen in days, hasn't answered texts about the upcoming church fair. Ellen calls the police, her voice shaky on the 911 recording, later aired by KTRK News. Something's not right over there, it's too quiet. Officers arrive at 8:47 p.m., knock, no answer. The front door's unlocked, creaking open into silence. The smell hits them first. Decay, thick and nauseating, a wall of rot that sends the rookie gagging. Flashlights sweep the house, living room empty, kitchen dishes piled, kids' bedrooms abandoned, toys scattered like they left in a hurry. Downstairs in the basement, they find her, Sarah Hargrove, 42, dismembered. Arms, legs, torso, head, all separated, wrapped in black trash bags, stacked neatly against the wall like groceries. Blood stains the concrete floor, dried into a dark pool, tools scattered. A hacksaw, a kitchen knife, a hammer, all caked with red. According to the Houston Chronicle, the autopsy later confirms she'd been dead for at least 4 days, killed by blunt force trauma to the head, a single crushing blow, before the dismemberment. The precision of the cuts suggests rage, not skill. Jagged edges, hesitation marks. The kids? Gone. Taken to a relative's house days earlier, unharmed but terrified, bags packed in haste. And Daniel? He's nowhere to be found. No car in the driveway, no note, no sign. Police dig in fast. The scene's a mess. Fingerprints everywhere, but they're mostly Daniel's and Sarah's, expected in their own home. They find Daniel's truck abandoned 50 miles away, near the big thicket, half hidden in brush. Inside, bloody clothes stuffed in the back, a Bible with Ezekiel's name scratched out on every page, hundreds of furious gouges, and a journal. That journal, later leaked to KTRK News, is a goldmine of torment. Pages of rage, scrawled prayers for forgiveness that morph into vengeance. She lied, he stole. They mocked me, one entry reads, dated weeks before. Another, closer to the end, God turned away. I'll finish it. The last page is a single word, repeated, judgment. Detectives track Daniel's phone. He's moving, erratics that pinging across Texas. Waco, then Austin, then silence as it dies. They interview Ezekiel, who's shaken but alive, sitting in his retirement home, hands trembling around a coffee mug. I haven't seen him since he came yelling, he tells police, according to the San Antonio Express News. He's lost his way. The kids, questioned gently at their aunt's house, say Daddy was acting funny, sending them away with a suitcase and a hug 4 days earlier. He said Mommy needed time alone. Jacob tells police, voice trembling, eyes red. He hugged us so tight, like he was saying goodbye. Neighbors fill in gaps. Mrs. Carter saw Daniel loading the kids into the car, his face blank. Another saw him carrying trash bags to the curb. Not unusual, except it was 2 a.m., and he didn't wave back. The church secretary reports a strange call from Daniel days before. Tell them Sunday's canceled, he'd said, voice flat, then hung up. Let's dive deeper into that basement. According to the Texas Department of Public Safety report, the crime scene tells a story. Blood spatter suggests Sarah was standing when she was struck. High-velocity spray on the ceiling, a brutal swing. The dismemberment happened later, hours, maybe a day. Blood already congealing. Why the delay? Was Daniel in shock, sitting with her body, grappling with what he'd done? The tools weren't cleaned, left where they fell. Impulsive, not planned. Forensic psychologist Dr. Michael Trent, quoted in a Psychology Today piece, theorizes this wasn't a calculated killer. This was a man drowning in emotion, rage, grief, betrayal. The dismemberment could be symbolic, destroying the life he thought he had. The bags, though, neatly tied, stacked, hint at a flicker of control, a preacher's orderliness breaking through the chaos. It's chilling to think about. Did he pray over her? Did he curled up? Daniel's on the run, Sarah's body is in pieces, and the kids are left with a mystery no child should face. Where's he going? Is Ezekiel next on his list, the root of this nightmare? Or is Daniel planning something even bigger, a final act to burn it all down? Don't move. This trail's about to twist again, and we've got hours of clues to unravel. For weeks, Daniel's a ghost. Sightings pour in. A man matching his description at a gas station in Abilene, buying coffee with cash, hood up. A diner in Lubbock, picking at a plate of eggs, mumbling to himself. A church in Dallas, kneeling at the altar before slipping out the back. The FBI joins the hunt, plastering his face across the state, billboards, news bulletins, social media pleas. According to KPRC Houston, profiler Dr. Lisa Holloway weighs in. He's not a calculated killer. This is passion, unraveling faith. He's dangerous because he's lost everything. His identity's gone. The community reels. Prayer vigils pop up, some for Sarah, some for the kids, a few misguided ones for Daniel. According to the Amarillo Globe News, one parishioner said, "He was our shepherd." How do you mourn a man like that? Others turn on him. Graffiti on the church reads, "Judas" in red paint. Sarah's family speaks out, begging for justice. Their press conference aired by KVUE. "He took her from us. He took everything." Then a break. Security footage from a pawn shop in El Paso, 300 miles west. Daniel's selling a gold cross necklace, Sarah's, engraved with their wedding date, June 12, 2005. He's thinner, unshaven, eyes hollow, preacher's collar swapped for a stained jacket. The clerk, interviewed by KFOX News, says he mumbled about Judgment Day before leaving with $50 cash. Police swarm the area, comb motels, gas stations. But he's gone again, a shadow slipping through the cracks. What's Daniel thinking out there? Let's speculate. Hours alone, driving back roads, the weight of 2 lives on his hands. Did he see Sarah's face in every shadow, Ezekiel's sneer in every mirror? According to Criminology Journal, cases like this often show a split. Part of him might still be the preacher seeking redemption, while another part's consumed by wrath. That Bible in his truck, did he read it, or was scratching out Ezekiel's name his new scripture? Witnesses paint a picture. A trucker at a rest stop near San Angelo, quoted in the San Angelo Standard-Times, saw a man like Daniel praying by his truck, tears streaming, then slamming his fists on the hood. A motel maid in Shreveport, Louisiana, just over the state line, cleaned a room with torn Bible pages on the floor, a man matching his description checking out hours before police arrived. He's running, but from what? The law? Himself? God? 2 months after Sarah's death, Ezekiel calls 911, voice frantic, crackling through static. "He's here. My boy, he's got a gun." It's 3:14 a.m., a moonless night at the retirement home. Deputies race over, sirens cutting the silence, but they're too late. Ezekiel's dead in his living room, shot twice in the chest, once in the head, blood pooling on the carpet. Daniel's sitting on the porch, gun in his lap, staring at nothing, rain dripping off his hair. No fight, no chase. He surrenders, silent, hands limp as they cuff him. According to the San Antonio Express-News, the scene's eerie. Ezekiel's Bible open to Revelation, a glass of whiskey tipped over, Daniel's muddy boots tracking prints inside. Did they talk? Did Ezekiel beg? Or did Daniel just walk in and end it? No words needed? The trial's a spectacle. Cable news, true crime blogs, protesters outside the courthouse. According to the Dallas Morning News, Daniel pleads guilty to both murders. Sarah and Ezekiel, no contest, no fight. His defense argues temporary insanity, citing the DNA shock, the betrayal, the journal as proof of a broken mind. Dr. Trent testifies he snapped under trauma no one could bear. Prosecutors paint him as a monster who planned it all. The journal, the tools, the getaway, the kids sent away as a calculated move. He chose vengeance, the DA thunders, holding up Sarah's necklace. The jury deliberates for 14 hours, tense murmurs spilling into the hall. Verdict, guilty, life without parole. Daniel doesn't react, just stares ahead as the gavel falls, a hollow shell of the man who once filled a pulpit. Let's unpack this trial. It's hours of raw emotion. Witnesses pile up. Jacob, voice breaking, testifying about Daniel's last hug. Mrs. Carter, sobbing over Sarah's kindness. The pawn shop clerk describing Daniel's dead eyes. Sarah's sister takes the stand, screaming at him. "You didn't just kill her. You erased her." Ezekiel's nurse paints him as a frail tyrant, hinting at his dark side. The journal's read aloud, pages of anguish turned evidence, jurors wincing at the venom. The defense brings experts, psychiatrists, theologians, arguing Daniel's faith warped into a delusion of divine justice. Prosecutors counter with timelines. He bought trash bags a week before, searched how to dispose of a body on his phone, chilling premeditation. The town watches, divided. Some see a fallen saint, others a devil unmasked. The Hargrove kids are scattered. Jacob and Micah with Sarah's sister, Leah and Samuel in foster care, Hannah with a distant cousin. The church shuts down, pews sold off, congregations split between pity and disgust. Sarah's family sues for custody, claiming Daniel's actions orphaned the kids twice over. Legal battles stretch on, aired by Court TV. Ezekiel's legacy, once a respected preacher, is ashes, his name scrubbed from church plaques. According to a Psychology Today feature, experts still debate what broke Daniel. Was it the betrayal, His father's sin, Sarah's silence, the shame of a cuckolded preacher, or a faith that couldn't bend, snapping instead? The case lingers in Texas lore, a cautionary tale of secrets and vengeance, whispered in diners and pews years later. What do you think? Was Daniel a victim pushed too far, a man crushed by betrayal, or a monster who chose evil, hiding behind a collar? Hit the comments. Let's debate this. And if you're hooked, smash that like button. We've spent hours peeling this onion, and there's always more to uncover. And there you have it, the twisted tale of a Texas preacher, a DNA bombshell, and a descent into darkness that left a family, a town, and a legacy in ruins. Thanks for sticking with me through every chilling detail. This is why Crime Mysteries Uncovered exists, to bring you the stories that haunt and fascinate, layer by layer, hour by hour. If you love this marathon deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a case. Share this with your friends. Let's get them hooked too. Drop your thoughts below. What shocked you most? What case should we uncover next? Until then, keep your eyes open. Truth is stranger than fiction. See you in the shadows.